Welcome back friends to another episode of Lynch Paints, where Lynch will be showing you all how to paint the AT-ST for Star Wars Legion. So let us assemble our paints and brushes and let's get straight into it. But of course, before we get started painting this fantastic miniature, we're going to need to assemble an array of paints, and these are the ones I have used today in this video. You're also going to need a few brushes. We're going to need some big fluffy brushes. So we got this big fluffy brush, we have this really big fluffy brush. We need a medium sized fluffy brush, a littler brush, and a teeny weeny teeny tiny brush, and any sort of dry brushing brushes that you may have, like for example this old makeup brush would do just nicely. So we are zoomed pretty far out today because we're painting this big Mamba Jamba. You can't even see him. There we go. Star Wars Legion AT-ST. Okay, so I've moved out just a little further just so we can get him properly in shot. He's freaking massive. He's the size of a 40k knight, but half the cost. It's fantastic. Anyway, so we're going to start out, obviously, as you can see, by basing it in a black acrylic primer. And then what we're going to do is that we're just going to first start out looking at the metalwork. So we're going to want to grab this Iron Warriors base. You can see it all the way down there. There you go. Give it a little shake. And there's not going to be much use of our small brushes. We're going to get big chunky brushes. Even this one that I normally use for tanks is going to probably be far too small. So let's get started. So the metalwork is done for now, so we're just going to move over to the armour panels. So I'm just going to grab some of this black and this Storm Vermin fur. I quite like using it because it's not 100% grey. It seems to have some kind of slight kind of brown mixed into it. Might just be me, but it's quite nice. I'm going for quite a dark grey, and then I'm just going to try my best to wet blend going all the way up. That's the thing with the AT-STs, they're just like a grey box on legs. Over there. Yeah, let's just start with the head, I guess. So I'm now just dry brushing the second coat over the top. I've added in a little bit more Storm Vermin fur just to make the grey a little bit brighter. For everyone, or anyone rather, that's watching along at home that has an airbrush, please use it because it's going to save you a good half hour, maybe more of your time. And at this stage as well, for anyone that doesn't have an airbrush, or those that do, that are feeling particularly lazy, it's up to you how much of this miniature you want to paint grey. You can paint the whole lot like it is on the box art, or you can just select areas to do and then leave the rest sort of black with the dry brushed silver over the top. So like what I've done here with the side sponsons, I'm just going to leave them and give them another dry brush with the silver. So yeah, it's entirely up to you how much of this model you want covered in the grey. So at this point I'm just layering up more and more dry brushing by using now pure Storm Vermin fur. There's a really light dry brush. Then you can use a dry brush brush, or you can use an old makeup brush. So I use one of my wife's old brushes and it works really well. So you can spend an absolute fortune on professional dry brush brushes, or you can see what spare makeup brushes are lying around. I'm sure you can get some for cheap online as well. So I'm building up the colours and starting from the top, trying to work down the way, so the bit at the top is going to be lighter than this bit down here. Try and get a bit of a gradients going. Again, this is like really easily achieved with a with an airbrush. You just go along the top and then you're done. So yeah, we're catching up with you guys, don't worry. And then what we'll do is that we'll start to introduce some of this administration grey, or just a lighter grey that you have at your disposal. And we're just going to want just a little bit of it to start out with. Get a bit of that out as well. That's right, we're going to put these to one side as we are done with all that grey for now. So what we're going to do is that we're just going to go back over some of the areas that we had previously dry brushed and sort of painted with the silver, with the Iron Warriors base. So we're just going to go and reinstate those. So I've gone back over the metalwork. I've also, while I was at it, just painted some of the bolts that go up the legs and some of the bits just around the head and just on that top hatch as well, just to make it stand out. I mean, you can put as much detail into this model as you like. I mean, you could just play it as is, just sort out the base, maybe just kind of go back into the eyes a little bit just to make them darker, but yeah, you can happily field this onto the battlefield, but I was going to carry on and try and put as much detail in as I can. So we're going to go with using a bit of this Agrax Earth Shade, and then we're going to want a nice fine detail brush, and then with a little water just to soften the colours up, we're just going to go in and we're going to pick out a few areas, mainly just where there is metalwork showing. So I'm going to go around this bit and this bit, and you get the idea. So now I'm just going to move on to a little bit of weathering. I'm just going to take some of this brown, some of this Morn Fang brown, and a small brush. I'm just going to water it down a little bit. I'm going to swap out to an even smaller one. Yes, teeny weeny brush. And then I'm just going to pick a couple of areas and I'm going to apply some streaking. So you can do this with the brown wash that we have used earlier, just to go over all the metal work, but I'm just going to use some of this lighter brown as well. So I'm quite happy with the streaking with the Morn Fang brown. I've also added in just a couple of battle damage, a couple of scratches, just using a mixture of Morn Fang and a little bit of black and a tiny brush just to create a few little tiny scratches, and then just use pure Morn Fang brown just to make some of the streaking. I'm just going to use the tiny little bit of this Riser Rust just on the back components and some of the larger metallic areas. So I'm just going to get my brush in there, wipe the majority off onto a brush, and then just going to go around the vents. It's quite nice because it adds just a little bit more colour to it, just a different shade, so it's not all just grey and silver. So we're very nearly finished. All I got to do now is look at the weapons. So I'm going to start out with the heavy laser cannon. There we go, came to me eventually. And we're just going to practice a little bit of heat metal. So I'm going to grab some of the Xerus purple, but you can use any kind of medium purple that you would like to use. We're just going to thin it down with a little water, and then we're going to paint the top half in purple. And then we're just going to add in a little bit of blue. And again, we want to water this down. And just apply a little bit of it just at the end. And as it's drying, we're going to grab a little bit of red. And we're going to paint just a couple of these missile heads. So I think he's finished. All I've got to do now is just paint up the base, which I've started on doing while other bits and pieces have been drying. All I've got to do is put some snow effects on. I'm going to put some snow as well on top of the model as well, so I'm just going to kind of dot some around the top of the cab, a little bit sort of onto the back, and maybe a few places just dotted about on top of the legs as well as around the feet as well. So as soon as I've done that and that's dry, I will start to wrap up here really. So here it is. This is the final result of the Star Wars Legion AT-ST, and I have covered it in snow so it will fit really nicely with my Hoth themed forces. So I really hope that you all enjoyed watching along and painting along to this video. It's been a really fun project to work on. It's a model that I've always wanted to own and to paint, and I think it's turned out really well, and with not really that many colours, because it is just, again, as I've stated before, just like a big grey box on legs with a couple of guns on. So I thought it might turn out a bit boring, but with the simple using of dry brushing, you can create a nice sort of like tiered sort of blend level effect through the different shades of greys that you can apply onto it, which just makes it a little bit more unique, a little bit more sort of less plain, so a bit more interesting. If you wanted to pick up one of these yourselves, then I will include a affiliate link in the description below for Wayland Games. They stock loads of Star Wars Legion products, as well as thousands of other games, card games, the lot. Have a look on there, check it out. That would be absolutely fantastic if you do. There'll be stills and reels of this model over at my Instagram page, Lynch Paints. If you want to follow me over there, that'd be fantastic. And as always, if you're new to the channel here, then a like and a subscribe and a comment down below would mean the absolute world to me. So if you please, that would be fantastic. So without further ado, stay safe and stay beautiful, and we will see you next time.